Hi, welcome to the Let's Talk About It podcast. I'm Alex McLaughlin. I'm VP of Marketing at D3 Security. I'm joined today with Gordon Benoit, President of D3. We're going to talk about what it's like to build an autonomous SOC product for security teams, what the feedback and journey has been like. So let's get right to it. Gordon, thanks for joining me. Why is everybody talking about the autonomous SOC space right now?
Every organization is talking about it throughout the organization. So you have the CEO who's looking and a CFO looking for efficiencies, and they're asking about AI and how AI can help them. And that's happening, across all departments, including cybersecurity. So people are, see the technology and they want to know how it can help them become more efficient. So, we built Morpheus, an AI SOC product. So within triage and incident response, that's the field that we play in. And, the analogy I use is there's this folklore story about a guy called Paul Bunyan. I don't know if you remember. You've heard of him? Okay. So he's a big lumberjack, giant of a lumberjack. And he would go with his axe and clear forests. And Disney built an animation. And in the animation, you see Paul Bunyan, and he's with his axe and he's clearing forest. And at the end, a man shows up with a brand new technology called a chainsaw. And they decide to have a competition who could clear the most trees in a certain amount of time. And lo and behold, the man with the chainsaw won.
Interesting.
Well, so I think Morpheus and products like Morpheus are the chains. You still need the lumberjacks, the SOC analyst. It's just that these products are providing a chainsaw, so they can do more, significantly more.
So what do you say to the people who understand the efficiency gains? They understand they can do more with less, but they still have doubts about the quality of the investigation, the consistency, the ability to do it without big problems. What do you say to those people?
So when we started building Morpheus 18 months ago, so we took a long time to bring this product to market. And we were trying to see and go to where the puck was going to be. And we looked at the large language models, we're talking 18 months ago, and we projected how far they would progress. We totally underestimated. So we built Morpheus projecting how far they would go, and they've surpassed anything we thought. But what we did is that we built Morpheus to be able to determine an attack path just from ingesting an alert. And so that attack path discovery approach, I think, was hard, very hard, but we think we've solved it. So what does that mean? It means that we're a triage incident response product, and we ingest alerts from EDR, identity, email security, network security. And in Morpheus's case, we ingest the alert, we obtain the context from that alert, and of course, IOCs. And then from there, we try to take the behavior that we are able to determine from the alert, and then we try to link behaviors across the tech stack. So the behaviors manifest in functions or actions taken by the bad guy. So we take the function, we take the alert, determine the functions and other functions, and then we go across the tech stack and we link relationships amongst functions. And the framework, Morpheus has this framework, and the framework is key. So Morpheus is 70, 80% framework and 20 to 30% large language model. The framework guides the large language model to build out the attack path. And it's basically the relationships amongst the functions or actions taken by the adversary, the bad guy. And that's what we try to build. So on every alert, we're trying to build the attack path. It's very difficult, but we think we've solved that problem. And I think the gaps, the key is the gaps. So you have your siloed tech stack, Most companies have 10, 20 products. So building the functional relationships across those gaps is where Morpheus shines and provides a true picture for every alert. And then once we go through the attack path, if there is no attack path, you can treat it as a false positive. And we have a scoring mechanism on what we believe are true positives, and those provide the priority to the SOC analyst.
Right, right. There's been waves of technology in the security industry, SIEM, SOAR, XDR, and a lot of people would say that these have fallen short of expectations. They've been more difficult to manage than was promised. What makes you confident that the AI SOC technology, our Morpheus product, will deliver on the promise of AI?
So, we come from a SOAR background, so we understand SOAR, and by default, we understand XDR really well. And kind of the Achilles heel of SOAR is the dynamic environment that it has to process alerts through. So you have bad guys and the good guys. Bad guys make a change, good guys have to respond, and the good guys, in our triage and instant response, it's those detections. So all the vendors have these detections, and they're always modifying the detections. So and adding detections. So you have these SOAR products with these API calls, and they're expecting, the API call to work all the time. But if a detection changes, the API call could fail. And that's the problem with SOAR, is that you have to spend a lot of time maintaining these SOAR products, in particular the integrations and the flow of the playbook. And as well, sometimes they'll break, and so your events are not flowing. And you've connected all your products, your identity, your email security, your EDR to these SOAR products, and the events stop flowing.
It's a big problem.
It's a big problem. So we understood that problem when building Morpheus, and we took advantage of large language models, some inherent capabilities within the large language model, and we solved the problem, which we call drift. So drift is these changes. So the detections change, and so Morpheus ingesting alerts all day long, and it says, "Oh, I know this. This detection. I know this detection," and then it knows the functional relationships, and then it gets a new detection. It's never seen. So it'll take that detection and put it through a separate stream, and it will work on that detection based on the context, and it will then fix the integration, and it will also build the relationships amongst the functions across the attack path. We're really proud of that, and we think that what's that going to give customers is that it's going to self-healing. So it's going to be able to not break and be as fragile as SOAR and XDR. And it will allow them to have confidence that their alerts will be ingested and processed and triaged.
Well, self-healing integrations, that's a big change.
It is. And to be honest, large language models help a lot to do that.
That's a big change, a big positive for teams, for builders, and for analysts who need to keep investigations moving forward. What else do people really like about Morpheus?
I think what people like about Morpheus is the ease of use. So you simply send the alerts. It understands the context of the alert, the functions or behaviors, and it'll then run it through the attack path. So it's extremely easy to use. So there's a lot of products on the market right now. Well, we call level 1 or L1 bots. So what they do is that they just focus on the L1 work, and they don't have the concept of attack path. And worse is that they require you, the customer, the SOC analyst, to always be answering questions and always helping them. So basically, you're building a product for them. You're basically building the logic for them. You keep answering their questions. So with Morpheus, you don't have to do that. Morpheus will basically ingest the alert, understand the context, and then build the attack path, and doesn't keep prompting you for answers. And also, Morpheus can ingest and learn and do multiple attack paths. So, sometimes, a bad actor will use multiple tactics and techniques. So Morpheus is smart enough to actually look for multiple tactics and techniques that they could use. So what people like is the ease of use. They also like the transparency of Morpheus. So everything that Morpheus does, there's a complete log of all the logic that Morpheus applied to that event. So when if the compliance department performs an audit, they will see that on every alert there is a log of all the logic and all the steps taken by Morpheus. Also, some customers also like the fact that we are autonomous AI SOC. We also have the SOAR product. And remember, when it comes to remediation, if you're running these agents and you're expecting them to perform remediation, well, that's a big issue. Remediation is a big issue. So, taking servers offline, disabling user accounts, those require human approval. So the fact that we have the SOAR product, and on remediation, you can actually have approvals, is extremely important. And we also have a case management system. So we can also take from the alert all the way through remediation and investigation to find out root cause corrective action. So we have the entire suite, which people like as well. And but it's really the ease of use of Morpheus. And Morpheus, it's a completely open system. So you can actually modify. So a byproduct of the attack path discovery is a playbook gets built. So on the fly. So there's no more.
So no more static playbooks?
No more pre-configured playbooks. And you need the context to build a playbook. And now you can to build a contextual playbook. So the playbooks are built on the fly. Playbooks are a byproduct of the attack path discovery. And then within that playbook, it's just playbooks are still great visual. The visualization on the playbook is still great. So you can see everything that's happening, and you can modify the logic if you want of Morpheus. So it is an open book. You can modify it and add steps if you want.
So what do you think about the fact that a playbook is like a byproduct of the system? What does that mean for stakeholders like compliance, privacy, security leadership, audit, when it comes to actually greenlighting an AI SOC product purchase?
You need to be able to audit anything that an AI product does. So I'll give you an example of, we had an incident. It was a real incident, and we in our lab, and we basically gave the problem to a large language model, so without Morpheus involved, and it was fascinating watching it work. So we gave it, observation A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and it built this incredible incident response playbook. The problem was observation A was caused by a lazy developer. So it's kind of like a scaffold. So it built this logic based on A, B, C, D, and it was brilliant, but it was completely wrong because observation A was faulty. So you can't just take an alert and throw it into a large language model. You need to guide it, and that's where the D3 framework comes. The framework builds the attack path discovery. And so you need that framework to break the problem down into small pieces. And otherwise, you're going to have these hallucinations. You're going to have some faulty logic. The large language models are going to get better. It's hard to predict, right now it's exponential improvements, but it's hard to predict where that's going to end. But we know that the framework is going to be important. So we believe that the framework to guide the large language model and take advantage of the improvements in the model is extremely important. And the other thing is that Morpheus is self-learning. So Morpheus, we believe is great today. We believe it's going to be even better in 6 months, even better in 12 months. And it's because it has the ability to self-learn. It has the ability to build relationship functions on its own. But the key is it has to be transparent. So you can see the logic from Morpheus in the system. So every alert, you can see everything that it did, and even you can see its thought process. So you can audit that thought process and you can audit the actions. And I think for anyone purchasing an AI product, that auditability is extremely important.
I want to go back a few questions, back to the topic of integrations and self-healing integrations. There's also the issue of breadth of integrations. There's a lot of point solutions out there. MSSPs, enterprises, they're running different, technologies. How important is it for a security team to have an automation solution that can deliver a breadth of integrations across their product stack?
Yeah, I think the integrations, like for coming from that's one benefit of coming from a SOAR background is we understand integrations very, very well. We have a team of 10 people. All they do for a living is build integrations and maintain integrations. So we understand that well, and we were able to teach Morpheus, how to build these integrations. And remember, we solve the problem of drift, so self-healing integrations. I think that's going to come in, be extremely important for customers.
What else are people liking about Morpheus?
I think the transparency, the link analysis, where we link attributes and behaviors, people like that. One thing that they're going to like is, Morpheus can handle 100 million alerts a day. They're going to like that because we believe that once they start using Morpheus, people are going to come up with new use cases and they're going to throw everything at it. So we're anticipating tremendous growth in events ingested. Day one, they may not appreciate it, but down the road, when they bring in new use cases, so you can load your results of your vulnerability scans, and Morpheus can manage that. Threat intelligence reports, Morpheus can ingest those and perform actions to determine if that threat exists within your environment, applies to your environment. Morpheus understands your tech stack.
I know in this market, there's the large enterprises, there's the mid-size enterprises, MSSPs, MDR firms, and everyone's looking for an edge, but they're optimizing for different things. So what are large enterprises looking for in an AI SOC product?
Well, I think what they see from Morpheus, I can't speak for the rest of the industry, but from Morpheus, they see the quality. The quality. It's tough, You're a SOC analyst, you're a group of SOC analysts, and you have to understand all the products, CrowdStrike, Okta, Zscaler, Office 365. You have to understand all these products. It's very difficult for someone to understand. And these products, just to explain the complexity, these products have hundreds of API calls, hundreds of functions that you can call. Which function do you call based on context of the alert? It's very difficult. And then you multiply that by 10 different, 20 different products. So every product having, 100 function calls, and then having 10 or 20 of these products, it's extremely, extremely difficult. If you had a SOC analyst and the SOC analyst had an hour for every alert, that'd be great, because they'd have an hour. It's just that Morpheus, runs at machine speed. So Morpheus doesn't care if it's one alert, 1,000 alerts, 100,000 alerts. And Morpheus can do all those steps across the tech stack that the SOC analyst would love to do. They just don't have the time. Morpheus does. So Morpheus quality of its triage is incredible. Not that SOC analysts can't do it. It's just the time. That's the difference.
And so if the largest enterprises are looking for depth of investigation, increases in quality, is that the same thing that, maybe the slightly smaller enterprises are looking for, the mid-sized enterprises? Are they looking for something different?
Well, I mean, going back to your other question, I mean, it's like you have, you went from 10 analysts to 1,000 analysts. 1,000 great SOC analysts. So you have 1,000 analysts now. What can they do? So if you think about it that way, that's what you get.
It's pretty startling.
Yeah, when you start thinking about what you can do with that many analysts, gets you to think about how many alerts you can ingest, what type of alerts you can ingest, what the scope of the work you can throw at a product like Morpheus. Mid-sized enterprises and MSSPs, they're looking, for the same thing, the quality of the triage. But they're also looking for efficiencies. When I talk to MSSPs, it's a very tough business, being an MSSP, because customer demands are sky high, what they expect from you, but they're really not willing to pay what they should pay. So the margins are very, very tight. So we think that Morpheus can help with that gross margin problem by basically being that force multiplier. I think for an MSSP, we truly believe it will help them add more customers without having to add headcount, and it will improve their margin.
We recently debriefed as a sales and marketing team, looking back at 2025. We looked at sales calls, marketing campaigns, trends that we saw in our data. And one thing that came up a lot, actually was the number one thing, was people are looking for what are the differences between traditional SOAR versus autonomous SOC or an AI product. And so what are your thoughts on that, Gordon?
Well, it's the context. So basically, contextual alert triage, that's a big difference. So basically you have these static playbooks, and you apply the same processes to the triage of alert versus being contextual. That's one big thing. Of course, going back to the self-healing integrations, that's a big part of it. Plus, the self-learning, the static playbooks, they're only self-learning if you get a administrator of the product, of the SOAR product, to modify the workflows based upon their knowledge or the SOC team's knowledge. That's a very slow process and very time consuming. And Morpheus, it can understand the context of an alert and then over time self-learn.
One of the other things that came up in this analysis was, the fact that people want to know, how does Morpheus compare to other products in this AI SOC market? And in particular, they're interested in things like root cause analysis, incident response, actually being able to go and close a case. So in other words, they're looking beyond some of the tier one functionality like alert summarization and sort of basic triage. And so how does Morpheus distinguish itself from products that are maybe more tier one focused?
Well, we're not an L1 bot. I mean, we do the L1 work, but we're not an L1 bot. So if your goal is to build a product that's an L1 bot, great. The industry needs it, but you got to go beyond it. And I think that, us spending 18 months, a large team spending 18 months, we had everything from experienced SOC analysts to data scientists, to software developers working on this problem, plus a tremendous amount of third-party, first the knowledge that we had from having a SOAR product and seeing incidents and understanding incidents, to all the threat intelligence knowledge that we had, putting that all together to solve this attack path discovery problem. I think that's a big difference. We're beyond an L1 bot.
Another thing that I've read from thought leaders in the space and, things that we've actually put out on our own communication channels is the idea of needing a combination of AI with deterministic workflows to really, do security operations safely. And so what are some of the features and capabilities within Morpheus that allow security operations to be augmented by AI, but done in a safe, transparent, consistent manner?
I think a lot of people are uncomfortable with AI agents performing response. And I think the fact that we've got the AI autonomous SOC and the SOAR allows us to build in the response through the SOAR product and having a human in the loop on that response. So having that approval level, that whole approval level logic that's built into the SOAR is important. And I just do not think that you can rely on a large language model to perform actions, not from what we've seen. And we've tested every large language model, and we've done benchmark testing, taking as incidents, putting them through Morpheus, and then also having those same incidents triaged through a large language model without the guidance of the Morpheus framework. And the hallucinations are real, and it's just not recommended. There's no way the company should be doing that. So I think the remediation is extremely important. You need the human in the loop on the remediation.
Well, thanks for joining me, Gordon, today on Let's Talk About It. It's something I look forward to doing again soon. And if anyone wants to know more about what we're building here at D3, they want to learn about Morpheus, head over to our website. The link is in the description, and we look forward to hearing from you.